Hi, welcome to Vintagerous. My name is Joni. Today I'm going to be doing a showcase or a show and tell on dishes, on what makes a dish valuable. What do I look for when I'm out hunting? And what have I learned over the many years of selling dishes on Etsy? So, would you like to come with me and we'll pop over to my table where I can show you some really pretty dishes and explain how I look at the value of them. So I've been selling dishes for many years on Etsy, and I thought today I would share with you sort of what I've learned about the value of dishes and sort of how to pick out ones that are kind of more high value. Um, any of the prices that I quote will either be what I've listed some of these things for on Etsy or plan to. And if I do give you an Etsy price, keep in mind that it includes shipping to the US or Canada. So just keep that in mind. But I'm going to be sharing things that I don't have listed as well, just more educational pieces or two around what to look for. Now, in general, there are about five things that make dishes more valuable. The first would be the artist or designer, the reputation of the artist or designer. And what I've got for you here are some plates that are made by a very famous designer from England, Clarice Cliff. And she was really popular in, the sort of with her Art Deco kind of styling in the 30s and so on, and even a bit earlier, I think, too. Now, her stuff can really go for quite a good price because there are a lot of collectors. And so if you turn over a plate, if you see something that, is an interesting shape, has a lot of hand painting on it, turn it over. And if you see this Clarice Cliff signature on it, you know you've got something special. These plates here I have in my Etsy shop, and I've got the two of them, a set of two, listed for $499, just to give you a sense. But some of her stuff that she made in larger manufacturing runs, like this one I have listed for $89, right? With again including shipping. So just to give you a sense, but so the one thing to look for is something with a designer's name on it. I mean, when you see any kind of pottery china that has a designer's name on it, it's a good idea to look it up, because even on the other end of the spectrum, here's a more modern piece that I picked up just recently. I looked on the bottom, and there you can see that it has a name. The name is Larry Laszlo. Now, Larry Laszlo is a designer that was an illustrator for many kind of high-end magazines like Harper's Bazaar, Vogue, GQ, Playboy, and was really known in the New York Times. And he's sort of a top designer, and he's recognized for his high-end line. So this cup and saucer, or cup and plate, because there's no real indent here, but I guess it's sort of a more modern saucer. And the other thing that I'm finding too is that the younger generation prefers to just have a plate and a cup, not a saucer. So it's kind of more modern design here too. Now, this Larry Laszlo teacup, I'll probably list for something like 49, including shipping, something like that. So, even more modern pieces, if they're short, manufacturing runs, they're known by a prominent designer, then, that is definitely something. So, number one is the, short amount of manufacturing. They maybe discontinued production, didn't make a lot of them, so that makes them rare. Or that it's a designer or artist that's maybe even done a collaboration with with a company to make china. So that's another thing to really watch for, is anything with a signature or a name on it. To give you another example, Pablo Picasso was known to create plates. So you can see here that some listed for really, really high amounts. And so what you're looking for here is a face. He often did pottery with faces. And this is a good picture here. Let's just make that a little bit bigger. So, here's a good idea of what his plates look like. And you can see them in shows and in galleries and so on as well. Um, so it's again, anything that has an artist name, something familiar, you're, definitely look it up, especially if you see something that looks like, kind of that Picasso style art, because he did his ceramics in the 60s and he really did them to showcase to a broader audience. He wanted to get his art sort of to the masses, if you will. So this is why he started doing that, the the ceramics. The next thing I want to show you is sort of design. Is the design timeless? So here's an example of really sort of timeless design and high quality. So again, is if it's something that has a style to it that could have been popular 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, but the design of it is so simple and classic, it could stand, you could mistake it for modern dishes. This is a great example of that. And so these are Rosenthal, um, and it's from the Studio line. And I have kind of pieces from two different sets. One has this sort of green on it, and on the plates, they just have a very small green band. And then I have some of the plain white ones. Rosenthal, very, very high quality German porcelain designers, manufacturers. Just to give you a sense of how, pricey these can get if they're really good, high quality brands. This teapot here is 249 listed on Etsy. I mean, it is great. It is a really nice, and that's a good size too, right? Good, must be what, an 8 cup or more even, um, teapot. So that's, and then like the dinner plates, 125 shipped. Now, that's even actually a bargain because a lot of other places, have them listed even more. So just gives you a sense. If you see Rosenthal, that is definitely a brand to pick up. And again, especially if it's something simple, plain, modern, minimalist, because that then goes with modern trends, right? So makes sense to kind of pick that up. So let's then go to talk about the fourth thing I want to talk about is brand. So I've kind of alluded to it here with the Rosenthal being a really good brand. So when we talk about brands, there are some brands that are really known for quality, or other things could be uniqueness. Maybe they're a brand that typically does hand painting, so there's that artistry as part of it, which would again add to the value. Um, so you're looking again for things that maybe make that brand a little bit more unique. So one of the ones that I always think of is Limoges. And this is a Limoges plate. Look at the detail on that. Absolutely gorgeous. And here's the back stamp on that. Oops, let's do it this way. Here's the back stamp on that. This is from the 1800s, late 1800s. Really beautiful design on that plate. So again, so quality, brand name, right? It's kind of got it all. It's also, to me, quite contemporary in its coloring because it's turquoise, kind of that turquoise and gold, which again is a good, would fit in with modern decor. So things like that, are really good things to look for. To give you a sense of this plate is $69, which to me is a bargain for something that old, listed on my Etsy store. And then I'll show you this beautiful bone china. Now, this is absolutely stunning. I mean, you can tell right away when you pick something like this up, even with the embossing, it should be sort of a red flag or a signal to look at this closer because china that's made with that kind of care, and detail. The back stamp on this, the back stamp on this is Royal Paragon. Now, Paragon, anything that's Paragon is going to be a really high quality bone china. So, this is another brand to really look for. A really, really strong brand in the sort of bone china. And then, there's the Royal Daltons and the Royal Albert. This is a Royal Albert bone china. And again, you're looking for really beautiful, very simple but colorful designs. Any of the teacups that are sort of solid on the outside and have large roses in the inside, they can range in price from, well, I think this one I'll be listing for about 69 with shipping. But they can go into the hundreds and even into the thousands if they're really beautiful teacups. So again, Royal Dalton, Royal Albert are examples of some really good high-end brands. And then I wanted to sort of show you something at the other end of the spectrum, more modern, but again, very, very good and high end. And that's these plates. Aren't these spectacular? Now, these were designed, I believe, in the 80s or 90s, and by Fitz and Floyd. So they're Fitz and Floyd fine porcelain. Phoenix Dover is the pattern name. And they come in a bunch of different colors, but these blue ones again are really quite rare. They were a short manufacturing run again, so they're really collectible. And sometimes again it's color too that can increase value. So make sure too that when you're researching that you consider the color in anything too, because it can make a difference in the prices. These plates, which I think are just absolutely stunning, are kind of showstopper plates. I'll be listing for 269 on Etsy. It's a set of 6 of them. But, it's common to see these going for 45 each or more, right? Because they're just so unique in design and so dramatic. I think that's another thing that can add to the value as well. So we've talked about short manufacturing runs and discontinued production. We've talked about an artist or the designer and the reputation of that designer and how that can affect price or artisan. We talked about design and quality. Is it timeless? Is the design simple? Could it fit in with modern decor as well? We talked about brands. So, is it a brand that's sort of well known for quality, or maybe uniqueness in some ways? So that can have a real effect on value. And finally, the last thing would be age. Age could be something that definitely impacts value. So Asian pottery that is hundreds of years old can also, of course, be incredibly valuable. And I'm not an expert in this area. I'm actually trying to learn as much as I can about it. The most expensive plate that's listed on Etsy is listed at $52,000, and I'll show you that in a minute. But let's look at the marks that you should sort of be watching for if you're out and about. So these marks, the way it works is there's the 6 characters in the mark, and they're read from the top to the bottom, right to left. So top to bottom, right to left. And so what you want to look for is the first 2 characters here. So these ones that I've circled here, these tell you what dynasty it is. And so these are the marks that you're going to see on every piece that's Ming Dynasty that's marked. And then if it's Qing Dynasty, it'll be these marks. So notice that there's a difference in the sort of second mark here. That's really where you see the difference is in that second mark. And now the chances of you finding a Ming Dynasty bowl out in the wild is probably going to be slim. And unless you're in a very high-end um, auction house or antique dealer, and you're probably looking at 100,000 or more. If it's something that's the Qing dynasty, which ran up to 1911, that's more likely that you might find something like that. So if you see a bowl or a plate or something that has the double rings and has the six marks and has these two first marks, that's your first signal to kind of look a little bit closer. The second mark down here would be the first. So the first two, and then this mark here, and this mark here tell you what emperor it was, and then who it was made for is here. So it gives you even more dating information. But if you just even kept those two kind of marks in mind, especially this one and this kind of double ring, I think that's kind of a good place to start. And when you go to a museum or something like that too, where they might have Asian pottery, you'll start to see these kinds of marks and become familiar with them. Um, so yeah, let's show you the expensive bowl on Etsy. Now, I don't know. I'm a little suspicious of it. I don't know. It doesn't look as old as it should be. Like this is listed as a Ming Dynasty bowl worth 52,000 and $83.33. So it's obviously somebody's, listed it in another from another country, and that's what it translates to in U.S. dollars. But um, the thing that's kind of making me wonder is, if you look at the bowl, like this color is right. There was kind of a yellow glaze that was used in the Ming Dynasty, and it's kind of well known. But it also, I think, was also used in the Qing Dynasty. So again, very hard to know. But here's the thing that kind of trips me up a little bit. I don't see any signs of wear at all on this. Like it just seems a bit odd that a bowl that would be, from, the early 1300s, 1600s would not show any signs of wear. And, the mark is really crisp and clear too. So I don't know, but I mean, again, it does have the Ming marks, like that is the two marks that I showed you earlier. So it's interesting. It's a very interesting piece. But let's also look at Sotheby's, a reputable auction house. So here's a couple of examples that the Sotheby's have listed right now. And here again, see now this is a yellow glazed bowl. Um, and it's listed at 100 to 150,000 US is the estimated value here. And if you look down too at the pictures, you'll see that it does have the double ring and it has the marks. But I mean, let's look closer here. I mean, to me, this one at least shows a little bit of wear, a little bit of pitting, a little bit of something there. And do you see how the mark itself isn't so vibrant? To me, that makes a bit more sense that this could be from, now this is from the Qing dynasty, so that's the 1600 to 1900. And it's the Yongzhen, so that's the emperor's name. So I forget the dates on that, but I think that does have some age to it for sure. So again, just something to kind of educate yourself about if you're wanting to learn more about Asian pottery. It's definitely an area you could spend a lifetime learning about and to be good at for sure. So thanks so much for joining me. I really do appreciate you taking the time to have a look at this video and hope you've learned something from it. I really do appreciate a thumbs up on the video. Do, do, do. And if you really enjoy this content, please do subscribe, tell your friends, share the video. And if you hit that notification button, that'll tell you anytime that I post something new. And I love doing these education videos. So, please do encourage me and let me know in the comments too what piece you liked the best. What was your favorite of everything I showed today? I hope you'll go have a cup of tea in a really nice teacup now and have a great rest of your day. You know I love ya. Mwah. Thanks for coming.